Hello, welcome to The Scale of Justice, that program that takes a look into the activities of the third arm of our democracy, that is the judiciary, and also enhances our justice dispensation process in Nigeria. I'm Femi Okeowo, with the pleasure of welcoming you to today's edition of the program. So much has been happening in the judicial sector of Nigeria, and we start first with the swearing in of new justices of the Court of Appeal. That has been in the pipeline for some time, and it is because the Court of Appeal has moved up to all divisions of Nigeria. And so more hands are needed, more justices are needed to push the cases that are on appeal before they go on to the Supreme Court. And so we now have new justices, and I'm going to allow Dele Atubi to tell us how that impacts on the justice system in Nigeria.
The elevation of these 18 former judges of the High Courts to justices of the Court of Appeal is aimed at enhancing quick dispensation of justice. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, urged the new justices to see their elevation as a judicial service which is divine.
And the oath of office. Now, we should remember that it is a solemn pledge and a commitment to good conduct in the course of your judicial functions, especially as senior judicial officers in the appellate court. We are not here for long speeches, but simply to realign our minds with what is expected of you at this very high and enviable level of adjudication. Many high-profile cases will definitely come to you on appeal, and they may likely come in company of some juicy, irresistible temptations. But I am making it bold and clear that you must flee from such disguised danger. Your reputation and integrity matter much and count enormously in your rise to honor and fame in life.
Justice Muhammad canvassed the need for Nigerians to pray for judicial officers in the manner in which they carry out their divine mandate.
Permit me to point out unambiguously that a life, gifts, and wealth that are not worked out or not worked for, which are by extension undeserving, are always wrapped in calamity and destruction. Flee from them and keep your heads high above the murky waters of corruption, so that you can conveniently be counted among the very best in the Nigerian judiciary.
The new justices promised to defend the Constitution.
Well, my message to the newly promoted judges is, as the CJN said, I think they must keep to the tenet and the conduct and ethics of that profession. Be very mindful that it's an opportunity given by God to decide the fate of human beings. So whatever you do, you look at how God will judge you. Well, we're moving into a new trend, and you know arbitration is the vogue now, arbitration. And so if we have a lot of arbitration, even lawyers, I know I was a practicing lawyer. Lawyers don't want litigation themselves, but they prefer to settle cases out of court. And the best way to settle cases is the one that you settle through arbitration than even litigation. So what he's saying is the right thing. You must not go to court, but at least when you explore the opportunities for arbitration, you are also reducing the stress on the judges. So for me, that's what will happen. And as we mentioned, the issue of political litigation, that one you can't reduce it. You cannot reduce it. It's a matter of interest. People like to ventilate their grievances, and the only opportunity to ventilate grievances is when you exhaust the opportunity at the courts.
One of the 18 justices, Justice Adebukola Banjoko, is the former FCT judge that adjudicated on the money laundering allegation against former governor of Plateau State, Joshua Dariye, and his Taraba State counterpart, Jolly Yame, and sentenced them to various prison terms. Swearing in of the 18 justices was slated for April, but was stalled by Josun's industrial action and a suit by a group alleging the exclusion of a zone in the appointment. The suit was, however, dismissed for lacking in merit.
Before we go into the main item of our discussion on the program, it is our duty to also let you know some of the things that have been happening in the various courts. Of course, now that courts are back and moving, there are so many cases coming up, and Amarachukwu Omenka is going to lead us into the happenings in the courts.
An Oba High Court sitting in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State capital, has sentenced a 39-year-old man, Charles Nixon, to death by firing squad for his involvement in the November 2024 adoption of one Mrs. Vivian Okoye, wife of a popular businessman and a medical practitioner in the state. Mrs. Okoye and the medical doctor, identified as Alex, were rescued after men of Operation Puff Adder of the State Police Command engaged the kidnappers in a shootout. The kidnapper, who was a driver of the gang, was arrested during the operation. He was arraigned before the Oba High Court on 2-count charge of conspiracy and kidnapping. Nixon was arraigned with another suspect, David Ekgama, who was discharged and acquitted by the court. The presiding judge, Justice Raphael Ajunwa, while delivering his ruling on the matter, found Nixon guilty of 2-count charges. In another development, a federal high court sitting in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, has sentenced 3 fraudsters. They were arraigned by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) Ibadan Zonal Office. They were convinced by Justice Ajoko Patricia Ajoko and Justice Bayo Taiwo of the Federal High Court Ibadan and Oyo State over charges of fraudulent impersonation. Also, an Ikeja Special Offense Court has sentenced a student of Lagos State University, LASU, Afiz Ogunbowale, to 21 years imprisonment for his involvement in armed robbery and rape of fellow LASU students. Justice Oluwatoyin Taiwo sentenced Afiz after finding him guilty of 5-count charges bordering on conspiracy, rape, and robbery.
arrest on the same date over his failure to appear in court for hearing. He has, often jumping bail, been accused of engaging in subversive activities that include inciting violence through television, radio, and online broadcast against the Nigerian state and institutions. Kanu was also accused of instigating violence, especially in southeastern Nigeria, that resulted in the loss of lives and property of civilians, military, paramilitary, police force, and destruction of civil institutions and symbols of civil authorities. Self-acclaimed leader of the proscribed secessionist indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has, for your information, been intercepted through the collaborative efforts of the Nigerian intelligence and security services. He has been brought back to Nigeria in order to continue facing trial after disappearing while on bail regarding 11-count charge against him. Recent steps taken by the federal government saw to the interception of the fugitive Kanu on Sunday, the 27th day of June 2021. For your information, distinguished members of the press, Kanu is as at now being produced before Federal High Court in continuation of hearing of his case in respect of which he has evaded and indeed jumped bail.
Thank you, Amarachuku, for visiting the various courts across the country and bringing us highlights of some of the events, the cases that have been put up for resolution. Now, one thing that Nigeria needs so dearly, particularly the justice sector, is in the kind of education that is given to our lawyers. And this cuts across the university education and then the professional education which is taken in the law school. We have been speaking to those people who have been in charge of that process for some time. Let's talk to someone who is at the helm of affairs of legal education in Nigeria. He is Professor Isa Chiroma Hayatu, who is the current Director General of the Nigerian Law School. These are the people who are helping us to shape legal education in Nigeria. Of course, not him as an individual alone. We have the Council for Legal Education in Nigeria that helps to give a framework of the kind of education that lawyers should go through, both from the university level, which, by the way, is controlled by the National University Commission, and then the law school, which is controlled by the Council for Legal Education. Now, let's hear how impactful legal education has been on the justice process of Nigeria. How has the Nigerian Law School coped? Give us a picture of how it has coped, because the school locked down for more time than any other institution I know.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you so much. COVID has affected every sphere of our life. The law school is not an exception. These students were admitted in 2020 January. Our own expectation was that they were to graduate by August last year. Here we are, March 2021. Virtually, they have been here for 1 year, 3 months, the longest students on our own campus. Too many issues. The cost of diesel running in our system, paying electricity bills, running water, medical facilities, and so on. The list is endless. We've coped. Students are about to write exams. That's why we are. Fortunately or unfortunately, also we have about 1 students who are on ground. This will also extend for another 3 or 4 months. The Council of Legal Education also has approved this year that National Open University students will be here. This makes our job much more complicated. Too many students at the same time. But one thing I want to assure you that the council will not, the law school will not stop its activities. It will continue. We've asked the government to intervene seriously, because we are in a situation whereby, like you said, it's unprecedented. The responsibility is enormous. We have going to have 4 sets of different students in this academic session. And I'm sure government will listen to what we've said, because apart from the National Open University, students are coming from universities. You know, as well as on strike for 1 year, this has complicated what we are doing here also, because students will come to law school, whether we like it or not, from universities. This year also, we are having about 10 new universities coming to law school. They have never been here. Even if they have quarter of 50 students, translated into about 500 new students. It's not an easy one. You've seen it. Our facilities have been run down. There's increased number of students. And like you've said, the COVID also came with its own challenges. A lot of people are getting sick. We need to address it. Not only a normal sickness, but things that are more complicated than we had in the past. But we'll use this medium to appeal to government again to look at what we are doing and how government can intervene. I'm sure the National Assembly too this year will look at it in terms of budgetary allocation, because we're in a serious situation that needs serious assistance from government.
Yeah. Since we're talking about COVID, let's pick one of the areas you dealt with, health.
Yes.
How I hope the pandemic has not created a spread on campus.
No, it has not. What we did virtually, when government asked us to shut down, we did. But when students were coming back, we invited the NCDC. They trained our staff on our pharmaceutical needs. We've done this for all the campuses. They've asked us what to put on ground, and I'm sure if we go around, you see all these facilities, and it's replicated in all the campuses. We're grateful to God that we never had any challenge in terms of health since we started. I will pray that this will continue.
Okay.
Yes.
Now give us what you are likely to do. I know that the Nigerian Law School has in the past treated backlogs before.
Yes.
And so this is certainly not the first time, but this backlogs looks a little different.
It's different.
How are you likely to cope with it?
Well, fortunately, the government has approved also that we should employ about 50 new teachers. We're in the process. Like I've told you, government is a listening government. I'm sure there will be intervention in terms of budgetary allocation, in terms of special intervention for us to run this program. We are the only institution that does this kind of training in Nigeria, and government knows in the last 59 years we've never gone on strike. It means the system is functioning very well, and I'm sure government, both the executive arm and the legislative arm of government will do some interventions for the law school.
One question came from students.
Yes.
And it's like they expect that an institution as mighty as the Nigerian Law School should have a word with the NYSC.
Yes.
Particularly considering what universities have gone through.
Yes.
And what the Nigerian Law School
Yes.
is going through too.
Yes. Well, NYSC is a governmental institution. We interface with them when the need arises. Well, what the students were asking us to say NYSC should not do its orientation because law school students are going to join the next 2 weeks. You know, it is very unreasonable to ask NYSC to do this. But I'm sure NYSC will look at it. I'm sure there will be another batch of corpers going for orientation. I think these are areas where we can interface with the NYSC. But to ask NYSC not to do orientation camp because law school is writing, I think it will be very unfair to NYSC and very unreasonable on our own part.
Now, let's look at your internal affairs. How has your administration helped to lift the facilities, the facility level of Nigerian law school?
Well, it's managing prudent management of our little resources. We channel our resources towards our basic needs, issue of water, electricity, health, and students, because these students pay the school fees and it's for their own benefits. And that's what I think we've done.
Only just about 4 years ago, we had new campuses. Is that likely to be something on the pipeline with this kind of...
No. We are not thinking of having new campuses. We want to consolidate, develop the ones we have on ground, give the adequate facilities. If we have adequate facilities, these campuses are enough. Our major challenge is the facilities. The new campuses have land mass. They have, it can take many more students. The only thing lacking is the facilities, and I'm sure government is aware of this.
Yes, these are the issues we have brought before you this week, and more issues are also on the ground. We are talking about the amendment to the Constitution, and the amendment should also affect the justice system, areas where the justice dispensation can be used to enhance the polity generally. These are some of the other issues we are talking about, and we shall be bringing them to you in more details in subsequent edition. Thank you for being part of today's program, and we'll always see you with developing issues in the justice sector. We'll see you again.